Joining us right now is Florida Congressman, member of the House Judiciary Committee and House Foreign Affairs Committee, Greg Steube. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. So how come we haven't heard anything about the protesters in China from this president? And what do you think about the response from the White House?
Yeah, we have a White House that is completely avoiding it because we have a president that's completely compromised. And, because Biden is compromised, he's not going to say anything. Just like we have big businesses that are compromised, like Apple and otherwise. They're actually helping the Chinese Communist Party by doing away with airdrop and that sort of thing. So you have an administration that's compromised, Congress that was run by Democrats, and when the Republicans take the majority back, you're going to see us go after China and put America first and China last.
Well, I think you make a good point about the Apple airdrop change. Apple restricting the airdrop feature for China users in this latest iOS update, so the protesters cannot be heard longer and more and getting more people to protest. Why is Apple doing that? And is corporate America funding the expansion of our leading adversary?
Yeah, they absolutely are. And Apple's at least complicit in doing what the Chinese Communist Party want them to do. And by doing away with this airdrop is not allowing those individuals to communicate directly with each other, which is obviously affecting the communication there for the protests.
Can you do anything about it? I mean, when the GOP takes the majority in the new year, are you going to do anything about corporate America and its efforts to fund the expansion of communist China?
Yeah, absolutely. We're also going to look at big tech. You know that they have liability protection. I have a bill that would do away with their liability protection and not allow them to do the type of things where in America they're restricting free speech, but in places like China, they're doing what the Chinese Communist Party want them to do. That's not American. That's not what American businesses should be doing. And we're going to hold them accountable when we take the majority back and get the gavels in January.
Well, look, Joe Biden seems to be perfectly fine with the economic story underway right now. The president is attempting to take a victory lap right now on gasoline prices. He's touting the use of the strategic petroleum reserve, even though, by the way, oil prices are actually higher today than where they were when he started selling oil from the strategic reserve. Here's the president yesterday. Watch this.
I ordered the largest ever release from the petroleum reserve, 180 million barrels of oil. And I rallied our international partners to come up with their fair share as well. That helped put downward pressure on price because we were producing more gasoline. That helped stabilize crude oil markets and reduce prices at the pump.
So now we've got the lowest levels of oil in the reserve since 1984, Congressman. Your response?
Well, we shouldn't be using the petroleum reserve for political objectives. Open up domestic production of oil and gas, make America energy independent like we were under Trump. It's still $1.20, $1.30 more than when Biden first took office. Diesel's looking to be at like $6 a gallon in December. That's not what the American people should be doing. We should, for the safety and security of the American people, be focused on domestic production of energy and oil and gas.
So let's get to the big story of the day. We want to hear from the panel as well here. Congress is going to vote on the resolution to avert a rail strike today. Senator Marco Rubio putting out a statement saying, quote, just because Congress has the authority to impose a heavy-handed solution does not mean we should. I will not vote for any deal that does not have the support of rail workers. Congressman Kevin McCarthy also yesterday said he's got to look at the deal. He's not sure if he's going to vote. How is this going to play out?
Yeah, we haven't even gotten the language of this piece of legislation yet, and I'm frankly torn. Republicans typically don't like the government intervening in private disputes, especially with labor unions. But the other side of that is, which was a point that was brought up earlier, was the huge impact that this is going to have on our economy from diesel, from coal, from fertilizer. Our farmers are going to be hugely affected. We may lose 700,000 jobs if this rail strike goes on for a month. So I'm more concerned about the American people. I'm very torn as to how we're going to vote. I'm looking at the language when we get it. But you got one side that doesn't think we should get involved, and the other side is, look, this is going to have a huge disparaging impact on our economy in a time where we have inflation, where we have a huge economic recession because of Joe Biden's policies, and let's not make it worse.
Well, Congressman, it's Dagan McDowell. It is kind of your job to get involved under the Railway Labor Act. I mean, that it lays out Congress's role in settling disputes. And
Yep, I don't disagree with
the
that.
bigger question is, does Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, do they add language into this, into the contract? Do you have any sense of, is this going to be, because the reports are that she will add additional railway worker benefits from subsequent negotiations? That would seem to be at least one sticking point for the Republicans.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're hearing. We're hearing that there'll be one vote on the actual compromise and then one vote on this additional benefits, which I absolutely would not support Congress adding benefits to these individuals who actually already have a lot of benefits compared to regular workers in business across the country. So we'll wait and see.
Well, they want more sick days, Congressman. She wants to add 7
Yeah, of
sick.
course.
The Journal says that she's going to add 7 new paid sick days. Are you against that?
On top of what, the 30 that they get or 3 weeks or something that they get? Yeah, I absolutely don't support that.
All right, Congressman. We'll be watching how this plays out. Big story here. Greg Steube, thanks so much. Take care of that voice.
Thanks.
We'll see you
Thank
soon,
you.
Congressman.